for my number one, I had to put, once I started to think about Merle, I was like, I mean, who are we kidding here? And I know you agree with this, that like, he means so much to us and to our friendship that I had to put it on there. We channeled our passion for music in high school into Merle. Like we were so, and I think it coalesced our friendship, you know?
For sure.
Cause we discovered it, and then I remembered like my Aunt Vicky had albums, I would borrow those. We started going on, when you started driving and then I got my license, we would go on excursions to find another one of his tapes that we hadn't found yet. Mm-hmm. And I remember sometimes I would come home with a tape and then I couldn't wait to get home and call you and tell you I found a new Merle album. We had no way of finding out how many Merle albums existed or what they were called.
There's no Wikipedia.
Like there were ways, but we didn't know any of them. So the only way was to go to a store and find it. I remember calling you. I found a new Merle tape that I've never seen. It's a complete album. It's not a compilation. It's not a retread. It's called Out Among the Stars, and the cover looks horrible. It's like an illustration of him. And then we listened to it, and you're trying to figure out where it fits in his body of work. And I'm giving it to you so that you can add it to compilation tapes. And you're right, we didn't end up listening to the tapes. We would transfer those to compilations and leave out the songs that we didn't like so that we could listen for wall to wall, meaning as long as a tape would allow, we would cram 3 albums worth of songs on like one of those extend play,
right,
once you take out a few of the duds. But at a certain point I eventually started collecting Merle albums so that we could hang them on the wall, and it was a representation and a continuation of the experience that we had in high school. Like I don't even know if I understood that's what I was doing when I was collecting those Merle albums off of eBay and hanging them in every single studio that we've ever had, including our office right now. But yeah, it's my collection, but it represents our friendship and something that became a permanent part of our identity. Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely our brand, you know? Oh, yeah. But also who we are as people. Like we love Merle so much that like, I can easily get emotional right now talking about it. When he died, I remember the meeting that we were in, and I remember thinking, am I gonna have to walk out of this meeting? And then like not walking out of the meeting and then saying, okay, I can compartmentalize this. But it's the musical focus of our friendship in a way that all of our experience with the Wax Paper Dogs, and I'm so glad that you like applied that filter to incorporating a number of albums into your list from that, because it was so important, and it's only overridden in our friendship by, I think, our Merle experience, where it was like, it was just about the enjoyment. It wasn't even about what we were gonna create. It was about the experience of being together, and we would talk about the experiences from the albums, from the songs, the fact that he chose to write about certain songs. The album I picked is I'm Always on a Mountain When I Fall. Mm-hmm. I still have this tape. Now I remember that your dad had this tape, and then I got a copy of it because
yeah, he had that.
It has my favorite Merle song, which this was released in 1978. My favorite song is I'm Always on a Mountain When I Fall, the title of the album too. Incidentally, it's a song that he didn't write, which makes me feel weird about it being my favorite, but it is what it is. The production on this is, the album, you read about the album now and it didn't do well. It was 1 year later is when he released Serving 190 Proof, and everybody, that was like a renaissance for Merle. But I listened to this and the production and the subject matters that he talks about. I mean, this has The Immigrant on it. That's relevant today. all of these songs are, so many of these songs are so good, but like on the B-side, Life of a Rodeo Cowboy and There Ain't No Good Chain Gang are great. But the best song of this album, It's Been a Great Afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's got a radio hit out of a song where he's talking about being hungover, and the only way he can get over his hangover is to have an enthralling sexual encounter in the early afternoon. And the celebration of that is something that was hilarious to us as conservative high schoolers. It's like he snuck things in that we were like, well, I couldn't show I couldn't let anybody know I was listening to Chili Peppers or if it was Dr. Dre, but he snuck it on the radio and talking about all this kind of stuff.
Well, and that's interesting because, I mean, that's essentially just racism at that point, right? The fact that old white country dudes can talk about things that are pretty explicit.
But it was veiled language.
It was veiled, but I mean, not very. You know, It was the fact that like, I can sit here and listen to this with my dad, but you know, if a guy's gonna be rapping about his sexual exploits, that's off limits. That was just part of the sort of the white culture that we were in.
Could you have predicted that this was my pick?
I knew that would be your album.
Okay.
Because for me, it got down to that Serving 190 Proof in Big City. It was kind of that he was just doing so many amazing things at that time.
I think that was 81, so yeah.
I kind of, again, it was like, I got to pick one, and I went with, Serving 190 Proof just because I was like, I think that I have more favorite songs on this. It made me feel bad that I didn't put it in number one, but again, I stand by not putting it in number one. I agree with everything that you just said, but because Merle Haggard's my all-time favorite artist, but it's just, I never really experienced the albums. I would take him and make him to the compilations, and so it just didn't come together.
Oh, my feelings aren't hurt.